Chris Packham is one of my favorite naturalists and TV presenters talking about nature. So I suppose it's not very surprising that I have his memoir, Fingers in the Sparkle Jar. And this is the book that I want to talk to you about today. It's a book that I've read for the second time, which is why I'm talking about it now, because it actually came out in 2016, I think it was. Anyway, it's a memoir, and Chris is a naturalist. So maybe you'll be expecting this book to be all about wildlife, all about nature, but actually it's not. It's a very varied book, and it's a very unusual book because it's written in the first person, I, and it's also in the third person. So you get used to the changing between the two through the book, and it's like stories within the story. As I say, it's not only about nature. Chris talks about his love of punk music and a Clash concert. And I can relate to that because I got into the punk music scene as well. I'd come through the hippie scene, and the punk thing, kind of followed on for me. So I understand that. And it's a book that I can relate to a lot. Chris talks about bullies a lot. And I mean, I was bullied. I was bullied in school, and I was bullied out of school. I was bullied out of school so badly that if I saw boys when I was out exploring nature, I get afraid. I thought, oh no, boys. And so I became afraid of boys as I grew up, which I suppose is pretty abnormal. But I love nature, and Chris too. One of the things about this book is that Chris gets directly involved with nature, which is very important. And the thing that I would want to say as well is because Chris gets directly involved with nature, he sees the good side, and he sees the bad side, and he sees the brutality, and he sees what really happens. And so this is reflected in his work. And his work, I would say, like his writing style, is very descriptive, is poetic. I don't know if Chris has ever written any poems, but I'm sure he could turn out really good ones because he has that style. Very descriptive, very graphic as well. And so that's a bit about the writing style of the book. One of the things which comes over in the book, which is most important, is a kestrel. Chris took a kestrel from the wild, and he looked after the kestrel. And that was a struggle in itself, but it was also a very wonderful experience for him. There's a picture from inside the book cover with the kestrel. And the kestrel is referred to as the bird in many of the chapters. So you get to know what the bird is. But there's also other wildlife that he talks about. He talks about otters and foxes. And early in the book talks about tadpoles and how he used to lose tadpoles because they were, he put them in a jar, and then it was in the sun and it was too hot. And I can understand that. That's part of the learning experience. And this is what is really important, for anybody who wants to learn about nature. You find out, and it's a journey. You're always finding out more. But I say that the book, can be quite graphic and quite grim at times. The third person story of the book is actually Chris being interviewed by a therapist, and it's grim because it's talking about suicidal depression, and which gives you some kind of flavor of that side of the book. So it's not all a book of beauty and wonderful days in the countryside. It's revealing about Chris's life and which is, of course, what a memoir is supposed to be. A memoir is an author writing about their life. Anyway, it's thoroughly recommended by me. It's a wonderful book. Fingers in the Sparkle Jar. As you can see, it's actually been read on Radio 4. So there it is. Fingers in the Sparkle Jar by Chris Packham. And that's all from me for today. So thank you for watching and listening. I'm Steve Andrews.